Welcome to WordStream and Hennepin Marketing's webinar, 10 Ways to Outsmart Your PPC Competition in 2013. We've got a great webinar for you this afternoon. Let me tell you a little bit about our speakers. We have Larry Kim, the founder and CTO of WordStream. He's been in the PPC and SEO world for a long time, and a while back founded WordStream. And today WordStream is an industry-leading provider of PPC management software.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. And this is Larry here speaking. Thanks for the intro, Laura. I just want to introduce our guest speaker today. It's Amanda at PPC Hero, and if you haven't heard of them, or Hennepin Marketing, it's the company that Hennepin Marketing runs the PPC Hero blog, and that's a really fantastic blog for in-depth PPC tips and tricks and analysis and trends. And it's a blog that I've been reading for now 5 years, and they provide great insight. And I'm a subscriber of that blog for now quite a while. Amanda, do you want to introduce yourself at all?
Sure. Thanks for the intro, Larry. I'm Amanda. Like Larry said, that I am an account manager at Hennepin Marketing, and I blog on PPC Hero. My focus for my accounts are mainly e-commerce. I do some lead generation, but you'll see my blogs at PPC Hero are normally about e-commerce. And it's really an awesome honor to be presenting today with WordStream. So I'm really excited.
Awesome. Well, thanks. It's great to have you here. Laura, do you want to talk about the agenda here?
Sure. On today's agenda, we are going to talk about ways that you can become faster and smarter than your competitors. So it's a fairly straightforward format here. We have 10 tips, maybe even a few extras that have been squeezed in at the last minute. To help you outsmart your competition in 2013. We'll spend some time at the end answering your questions, and that's it.
Awesome.
To talk about today's event, if you are active on Twitter or with Google+, you can use the hashtag PPC competition.
Oh, Laura, that's going to take up most of the characters of the tweet there. It's so long.
Yes. So,
awesome.
hey.
So typically we do these polls just to get a sense for who's on the line today and kind of what your interests are. And so our first poll question for our audience today is, which of the following tools do you find most helpful in getting an edge on your competitors? And Laura, have we launched the poll?
I've launched the poll, yes.
And listeners, you can just pick your favorite one there, and then we'll see what people have to say.
That's some interesting results there.
Amanda, without wanting to bias all the results here, like what's a PPC competition or tool that you use?
I think it definitely depends on what kind of account you have and how advanced of a manager you are, and kind of a lot of different things playing in there. I think for people who are maybe running their own account or kind of dabbling or just starting to get more advanced, I think that the WordStream AdWords Grader is a really great way to start. Gives you some really great insights to begin showing you where to start. But for maybe some more advanced people like myself, I really like Google Analytics. I'm in it all day, every day. It's really great. SpyFu is great. Of course, getting new betas are great, and I'll talk about scripts later. We love using those. So I think everything is really great, just depending on what you're looking to do with it.
Cool.
Okay, so we have about 70% of the audience there that has answered, so I'm just going to share the results.
The landslide.
Yeah,
Google
quite
Analytics.
a landslide.
Is there anything it can't do? It's amazing. All right. So we just have one other question for our audience today before we jump right into our competitive tips, and that is, how long have you been involved with search marketing? And the options are, less than a year, 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, and over 5 years. Hey, Amanda, how long have you been working in this industry?
1 to 3.
1 to 3, cool. I've been here for 11 years. I feel like pretty old here. Not even an option.
All right. Good. I think we've got about 75% of the audience there that has voted. So I will close that and share the results. Looks like 1 to 3. So basically, under a year. I mean, under 3 years.
Cool.
Is about more than 50%.
That's great. We have a good mix of kind of intermediate as well as advanced tips for today, so I think that'll be great. All right, so with that, we'll just hand things over to Amanda, who's going to walk us through her tips. Amanda, are you able to advance to the next slide there?
Nope, doesn't look like it. I guess you're stuck with that.
That's okay. I have prepared for this contingency.
Okay. So I'll just get started. I have 6 tips I'm going to go over for you guys today, and I think the central theme to the tips I'm going to go over is working smarter in 2013, doing more with the time that you have, because I know myself, like everyone else, really the further along you get in your career in search marketing, the less time you have and the more responsibilities you have. So I think that's really important to be able to really be super competitive in 2013. So the first thing is to be more organized in your competition. There's lots of ways to do that. One of the great ways that we like to do here is have really super tightly structured ad tests. You can use AdWords campaign experiments to help you with that. That'll help you keep track of what you're testing and why you're testing it. And that's just sort of like an overview. The really important thing to do when you're trying to stay really organized in your tests is to give yourself enough time to gather statistically significant data. And I know that can kind of vary depending on the volume that you're seeing for whatever you're testing, but it's also really important to stick to your calendar and be really disciplined in your testing initiatives. I think that everyone, myself included, can remember a time where we kind of forgot to check in or we got busy and data kind of got crazy, and it was really hard to go back and dig through it to see what the real results were. So it's really important to be very disciplined and make sure that you're really sticking to it. So as an example, I wanted to show you guys something that I use that we created here at Hannibin in Excel, and it's just an ad testing matrix. You can see that it really gives yourself a defined timeline for testing the impact of new headlines, copy, and display URLs. You can go back and put your findings in there, so you can really have one document that gives you a really nice snapshot of where you're going and where you've been and what the results have been. Having something like this, especially on really large accounts, I think is super vital to making sure that your time is being very well spent when you're testing.
Looks just like an ad tournament you have here, kind of brackets and stuff. That's great.
Yeah. I do believe if you check out PPC Hero and do a search for ad testing matrix, that we have a step-by-step guide on how to make that, in case it looked a little overwhelming for anyone out there. Step 2, using bid management and reporting tools are a huge time saver. Automating your workflow with bid management and reporting software can just really free up your spare time for maintenance tasks and let you dedicate your time to strategy and research and writing better ad copy, the stuff that makes a huge difference in your accounts and the stuff that I often feel I give less time to when I'm super weighed down by maintenance tasks and reporting. There are some paid options out there, some paid third-party options, and they can have really robust bidding rules, or even you can put kind of better than bidding rules. Some of them offer an actual algorithm, so you could say, like for me, I do a lot of e-commerce, like I said, so I could say I want my return on ad spend to be $2, get me there with as much volume as you possibly can. And some third-party tools will actually have an algorithm that just does that for you. So that's really great to have, especially when you have a huge e-commerce account with a million different products. I couldn't imagine doing manual bid changes on those every day. It would drive me crazy. And then the automated reporting features are really great too on some of these third-party tools. If you have ever tried to appease a really needy client that wants daily reports and they have a huge account, and you try and do that manually, I don't think that I could do that. That would take half a day. So I think it's really important, the further along in your career, the larger your accounts, these things really start to become necessary. And then in terms of free options, you always have the ability to set automated bidding rules in the AdWords interface, which are really great. Here's an example of what that looks like. When you go to your account's keyword tabs and select Automate, you'll see something like this come up, and there are so many different choices. It's really cool, and you can always make them work with each other. So that's free to everyone who has an AdWords account. Depending on what your KPI is, there's a bunch of different stuff that you could do. You could set it up to pause a keyword after it reaches your CPA threshold. You could set it up to lower a bid once the average position gets up to one position. There's just so many options here. It's a really great tool to explore if you don't have the funds or the resources to get a third-party bid management software. And this one is something that we kind of alluded to when we were talking about tools in the poll earlier. And it can be a little advanced, but I think it's really an amazing way to work smarter in 2013 to look into these if you aren't using them. I could say as an agency, we really just started using these not that long ago, and we found a huge amount of time has been freed up when we start to use these more and more. So, and I mean, I'll just say I nerd out on these things very hard. So if you are at all nerdy, you're going to get very into them. Basically, AdWords scripts and Excel macros just help you digest data and manipulate your data. It helps do it to huge sets very quickly. AdWords scripts specifically will help generate graphs for ad copy analysis. They'll examine your keywords. They'll provide a quality score monitoring system. Really anything that you think that you could do with an AdWords script, you can do with an AdWords script. You're really only limited by your knowledge of JavaScript. So if you have a very limited knowledge of JavaScript, like myself, you can become very reliant on doing internet searches, Google or Bing it, whatever you prefer, or 7-search it, whatever you want to do. And there are lots of communities out there centered around AdWords scripts. You can find ones that are complete that you can just copy and paste. If you do a search, the first thing you're probably going to run across is the Getting Started guide from Google, and there are already a handful of complete scripts in there. You can just copy and paste, and they'll tell you exactly how to do it and exactly what it does for you. One thing that I found really cool is that it downloads. I have a script for some of my accounts that will automatically just give me a report. It just self-generates this report once a month of my quality score, and since you don't have like historical analysis that you can go back and see what your quality score was 2 months ago, it's really important to be able to do that, and sometimes I don't remember to do it, so it's really great to have that just running automatically for me. And then Excel macros are another really cool thing. They can help generate really unique insights from really basic AdWords reports. So, for example, if you have a really large search term report and you're interested in seeing like each individual word in that report, like I wonder what the word from, for example, probably doesn't have a lot of relevance, but just an example, in the 2 million search terms that I have downloaded in this report, how that performs on average. You could actually, we've done this, recently developed a macro. So basically you just perform the function, so separating each word in the search term with all the statistics aligned with it, and then you hit record, and then you hit play, and Excel will just keep doing it until it's done. So what would take you maybe 2 days to do manually, you can get an Excel macro to do for you in a matter of minutes or hours, depending how large your data set is. So again, those two things are very complicated, but internet searching will open the world up to you very quickly.
Hey, Amanda, if this is just too complicated for some of the people on our call today, just out of curiosity, does Hannafin Marketing PPC here, do you offer kind of scripting support, like in terms of the services that you offer?
We definitely do scripting stuff and macros and account management. And if we had a client come on that was interested in learning more, we'd be happy to teach them. And of course, we do offer some packages where we don't actually take on your account, we just do some work for you. So I'm sure if you get in contact with sales, we would work something out for you.
Awesome.
The next tip is using third-party retargeting sites. So AdWords offers a really great retargeting service that is free besides obviously your cost per click or cost per impressions, and I think that's a really great place to start. But third-party retargeting sites like Retargeter and Fetchback offer you a bigger audience and more tools. So basically it just like gives you more chances to reach your most qualified audience. Another really great thing that comes with some of these third-party retargeting sites, like Retargeter specifically is what I'm thinking of, you get access to the Facebook ad exchange, which you actually can't get access to without a third-party vendor right now. So it's really great if you have an audience that you're trying to capture when they're still in the social mindset. You can retarget to people on Facebook. I don't know if you guys have noticed retargeting ads on Facebook lately, but they've gotten really crazy for my Facebook. Pretty much anytime I go to a big box brand website, the minute I'm back on Facebook, I'm getting crazy amount of retargeting ads. So that apparently is really big right now. I know that we're using it for some of our accounts. You also get really great creative from some of these third-party retargeting sites. So when you use AdWords, it's really up to you to create your own creative. But with some of these other sites like Fetchback and Retargeter, they will create dynamic ads for you. So right now, using dynamic ads in AdWords is in beta, so it could be hard to get into, especially if you have a small account. But these third-party tools already offer that, and they do it. I think they just will charge you a little bit extra cost per 1,000 impressions, like $1 or $2 extra, if they're creating the ads for you. So it'll just show your audience exactly the product that they were just looking at or the pages they were just on, and they can make interactive ads for you. It's really great, the creative that they can make.
Hey, how's the ROI compare for these third-party networks compared to comparable display remarketing on Google Display Network?
I would say what we've seen is probably about the same return on investment as AdWords, but the big key here is that if you have a large budget, if you're spending a lot in AdWords, you're being limited by just using AdWords retargeting services. If you open up your budgets to a third-party retargeting system, there's just more audience that you're capturing, more websites that you're getting those people who have already interacted with your site back. So I would say if you have a large budget, if you're spending a lot of money in AdWords right now, especially if you're already spending a decent chunk of change in AdWords retargeting, it's not necessarily that you're looking to increase your ROI, it's to get more sales, get more audience, and just rake in the money, basically.
Awesome.
And the next tip is to make sure you're on the cutting edge for new betas. I've found this to be very important, not only for your account management, to make sure your account is always really competitive, because it's very important to make sure you're on the cutting edge of new products in your account, but also if you are in an agency setting like myself, it's very good, it looks good for you to be able to say, hey, I have this beta I got you in because of my special connection with the Google rep, and don't worry about it, I'm doing this really awesome new thing for you. Really shows value to your client. Or if you have a boss, get your account in, and your boss will be very impressed with you, I'm sure. So a couple of the really cool new betas that I've been playing with lately. My favorite one right now is attribution modeling for Google Analytics. I have some of my accounts in the beta for this, and it's really cool. It just lets you segment your data based on credit for interaction points leading up to conversions, and it just lets you kind of look at your data in different ways. So if I want to say my client doesn't value my branded sales, but maybe I can see where branded is the second interaction point, and I have another PPC campaign as the first interaction point. So some of the stuff we kind of already had with multi-funnel channels, but this is just a really cool way to actually assign credit for the different touch points. So if you think that, if your client or you think that the first touch point or the last touch point in a conversion funnel is more important than the middle touch points, you can just set that up to assign the credit for that however you feel it best represents, because it does allow you to do a custom model. You don't have to pick just like the 4 standard models for attribution modeling. You can do whatever you want. So it's a really cool tool. I've been using it a lot. It's very fun. Another one is search remarketing. So this is also in beta, and it just lets you target site visitors while they're still actively seeking the product information. Basically, search remarketing just targets people while they're still actively seeking products and information. So if you have someone who's been to your website and you're targeting them with regular remarketing, you're targeting them while they're out in the world of the internet. So who knows what they're doing? They're checking their Facebook, they're looking at a product completely unrelated to yours, or reading a blog. So the chance for interacting with them might be lower. But with search remarketing, you're getting them while they're still actively seeking products and information. So that's a really good time. You'll have a better conversion rate and click-through rate. With search remarketing, we've seen great results with this with our clients that we've got into the beta so far. And the last point that I wanted to make about getting into beta is just to make sure that if you have an agency, that having an agency with a great relationship with their Google rep, or your own Google rep if you have an account big enough to have your own Google rep. I know a lot of clients that come on with smaller spends have said one of their big frustrations is trying to get a Google rep to pay attention to them. It can be really difficult if you have a low spend. Even if you have like really big problems, it's really hard to get attention. So that's one really great thing that you get out of having an agency if you don't have an account with enough spend. And that really just lets you get on the ground floor for exciting new betas to make sure you're being super competitive. And then the last tip that I wanted to go over was really more based in analyzing your data. So just one cool thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about that can help you be more competitive is really analyzing your account sweet spot in terms of your average ad position. We have a lot of clients come on who are really focused on being in the top ad positions. They want to be in position number 1 or 2, and they're very proud of being in the top for these keywords. And a lot of time they're just wasting money because they're getting lots of clicks and none of those clicks are turning into conversions. So I think that this is something that a lot of people are aware of in managing accounts, but one really cool way to make sure that you're really on top of that is to download a keyword report by campaign. And I say to do it by campaign just because in my accounts, campaigns have different performance. So if I did it by the entire account, then my branded stuff or whatever is performing better would really just start to skew everything. And then if you segment it by week and then create a pivot table, you can kind of look at this pivot table just like this. So if you see the row labels here would be from position 1.2 to 2.2, and you can see the click-through rate, the conversion rate, and the cost per conversion. So obviously this is a really simplified way of looking at it because I'm not taking into account in this specific example anything to do with volume or return on ad spend or gross revenue numbers, which I'm sure that is important to you. So make sure that when you do this for your account, you do that. But through this analyzation, I was able to see that my highest conversion rate and my lowest cost per conversion for this account came between ad positions 5.2 and 6.2. And remember that these are average positions, so make sure you have a lot of data to let you know that these averages make sense. If you don't have a lot of clicks, like you only have like a handful of clicks and you're trying to analyze it, the average isn't really going to mean anything to you, and to make sure that you have a really good amount of data when you're doing this. Okay, and I think that's it for my 6 tips.
So I'll take it from here. Thanks, Amanda. This is Larry here from WordStream, and I'll be just doing the rest of the tips here. one of them here has to do with getting your quality score discount. Now, when we think about PPC competition, it's natural to focus a lot on like competitive metrics like bid management or average position, but it's also worth pointing out that your PPC performance is only half dependent on those external competitive factors. And in fact, the way that Google determines, what ads occupy what position, it's not only based on the competition, but it's also based on sort of your maximum CPC bid amount and your quality score. And so there's ways to outsmart your competition even in competitive keyword verticals like finance and insurance if you can be really smart about getting these quality score discounts. And basically, take this example. It's a typical ad auction, and just the one thing I want to point out here is notice how that as a result of having a great quality score, that Advertiser 1 with a maximum CPC bid of just $2 can actually win the coveted top spot on the search results page, even though Advertiser 2 was willing to pay twice as much with a max CPC bid of $4. And so I think that's pretty interesting. Similarly, your actual cost per click, it's obviously directionally proportional. It's proportional to the competition for that keyword. But in addition to that, there's this quality score discount that gets applied, and that this is entirely in your control, unlike some of the competitive factors. And so notice how even though Advertiser 1 was willing to pay, even though Advertiser 1 was willing to pay it's really confusing, I know. Advertiser 1 was willing to pay $2. The actual cost per click is $1.61. So he gets a 20% discount as a result of this quality score discount, because they did such a great job, and that's pretty significant. And if you assume that the typical quality score is somewhere around 7 out of 10, you can notice that by increasing your quality scores by a point or two will yield anywhere between 12 to 30% discounts on your typical click costs. Conversely, if your quality scores are a bit below average, then you can see by this table that the cost per clicks are actually inflated quite dramatically, anywhere from 16 to 600%. And this is from my colleague Craig Danieloff at Click Equations. And so the key takeaway here is that, yes, of course, PPC is very competitive, and there's going to be, to some degree, factors outside of your control that's going to impact your ROI. However, keep in mind that you can still focus on the things in your account over which you have full control, such as the stuff that Amanda was talking about and stuff that I'll be talking about here. And that these quality score discounts can yield huge savings in terms of enabling you to be competitive in even very competitive keyword verticals. And if you're skeptical, then I can just give you a couple examples here. Look at this example, Advertiser A. Here I've plotted this advertiser's click-through rate for the keywords in his account. And now notice, of course, you would expect to see a much higher click-through rate if you're, say, in the first spot relative to the second spot or the third spot. The more prominent the position, the higher the click-through rate, obviously. And so on this graph, I'm plotting the click-through rate of the advertiser's keywords against the average position for each keyword. And notice how this particular advertiser has an average click-through rate across all positions of 14%, and that and by the way, no, I've looked at the account. They're not all branded searches. They're actual, commercial searches, and I'm seeing, keywords with 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or even 60% click-through rates here, which is far above the expected average click-through rate for each position. Now, as you might expect, then if you have such great click-through rates, this advertiser is therefore rewarded with an average quality score of 8.8 out of 10 across the entire account. And so this advertiser is able to therefore maximize the quality score discounts and not have to pay kind of that quality score tax. As you can see by this graph, like all of his keywords are either quality score 7 or quality score 10 distributions. And if you stick around for a few more minutes, I'll explain to you how he did that. So I guess you can say that things are going pretty well for advertiser A. You know, he's operating in a competitive keyword niche, but nevertheless he's thriving. And now all he has to do is just kick up his feet and count the money. Just kidding. In all seriousness, you know, I think this is where we it's a great situation, and it's definitely possible over time. I just want to show you the flip side here in terms of the opposite of advertiser A, and that's advertiser B, and he's in the exact same industry, and unfortunately his click-through rate is just 1.3% on average. Now, obviously he's occupying lower ad positions. In this case, his average ad position is something like 4.1, so you'd expect it to be lower. But my graph shows that a lot of these keywords are far below than even the expected click-through rates at those lower positions, and so. In that graph, notice how a lot of the keywords fall below kind of that yellow curve, which is my plot of the expected click-through rate at different ad positions. And so as a result, this particular account, he's suffering. His quality score average is just 3.8. And so you know, all the ad impressions are being accrued to keywords with quality score 3 and 4, meaning he's paying 133% premium on those clicks. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not still valuable, but you know, it would be great if you could get kind of a discount on some of those keywords. And so, basically, in summary, your ability, it's kind of what I said earlier, your ability to compete in these highly competitive search verticals, it's a combination of the competitive factors over which, you know what your competitors are bidding on and that kind of stuff. You don't have a ton of control over that, but you know, you can focus on certain factors that you have a direct influence over, and for this reason, I believe it's critical that we're thinking of both the bid and the quality score side of the calculation here. My next idea is on how to outsmart the competition is the use of ad extensions, because they offer kind of a means to differentiate your offering from all the other competing ads within a list of ads. And so one of my favorite ad extensions is the site link extension. And I just did a quick check this morning. You know, WordStream has a lot of customers, and like I just did a quick check with a lot of data here and found that only 36% of advertisers use this ad extension, the SiteLinks ad extension in their account, meaning the vast majority of advertisers, 64% of them, aren't, you know, taking advantage of the extra, you know, the extra space and kind of prominence that this ad extension can drive to your ads. And I think that's crazy. I think it's you know, I kind of struggle to think of a scenario where you know, you would specifically want to not use this, because I think it's all upside mostly. And this is just like a typical example. There's many other types of ad extensions. It's kind of tough to keep up with all of them because they're being rolled out every other week, it seems. But you know, there's stuff like location extensions, product extensions, which are really key if you're in retail. You know, click-to-call extensions. Communication extensions where you can submit an email, even like stuff like social extensions where you can like +1 an ad. You know, even if you don't have a tremendous number of people +1ing your page and stuff like this stuff, it just makes your ad look a little bit different from the other ads, you know, in a stack of ads. You know, there's even like this one weird one that I saw the other day on live chat extensions where you can launch into a chat window with a salesperson. So, you know, if you're in the hotel business, there's like hotel search. If you're in the car business, there's Google Auto Search. If you're in the airline business, there's like flight search. There's so many different ways to differentiate your ads, and the reality is that not a lot of advertisers take advantage of this still, yeah, so that could be a great competitive advantage, especially considering over the last year there's been a lot of changes being made to the search engine results page that resulted in sort of increasing prominence given to paid ads. And you know, given that that's the case, I think it's more important than ever to take advantage of all the space that's been allotted to the paid search ads. You know, by taking advantage of those prominent ad spots, like the in this search for stainless steel dishwashers. You know, 85% of the space above the fold gets allocated to the top 3 sponsored listings, as well as the product listing ads. So that's pretty significant. So we're almost done here. My My
Hey,
next
Larry.
tip has to do, yeah.
Larry,
Yeah.
it's Laura here. I just wanted to ask, we're getting some feedback that there's some volume issues, so just yell it out.
All right, so my next tip here is for outsmarting your competition. Has to do with kind of the creative process behind the ads that you create. And this is kind of from my friend and colleague, Mr. Perry Marshall. He's like an AdWords expert, and he's got a great take on this whole ad creation process. Now, sometimes I like to come up with great ideas, but sometimes when I hear a great idea, I'll just borrow it with permission, of course. And so this one's from Perry. But basically, there's for many types of searches, particularly B2B searches, most advertisers still haven't figured out how to create truly creative and innovative ads. And I just wanted to give you an example here. It's a search for, I think it's ERP software. And notice how, to more or less, the ads are pretty undifferentiated. Like even ads 5 and 6 on the list both have the same identical headline, flexible ERP software. And so, that doesn't seem very differentiating at all, if you ask me. And so, a lot of PPC marketers think they're doing a lot of creative ad testings, but in reality, what they're doing is they're just testing 20 variants of the same ad with pretty minor tweaks. And so, for example, take this ad here and compare it to this ad here, and try to figure out what the heck is the difference between these two ads. And the difference is that there's kind of the omission or inclusion of a comma in the headline. You see that? How to write a book, comma, fast versus how to write a book fast. Now, look, I'm not saying that this is terrible. Like you need to do some ad testing, and in fact, I believe that one ad did, a little bit better than the other ad. Maybe a couple tenths of a percent, which is a decent percent change. But I, challenge you to think a little bigger. And what I mean by that is, you have kind of Forrest and the leaves, and so. By Forrest, I mean like the big picture items, like your unique selling proposition, your offer, your guarantee. And then there's the leaves. That's like the grammar, the punctuation, the capitalization, etc. I'm not saying that they're not both important, but I just challenge you to try to focus intentionally more on the big picture stuff. And I'm just going to give you a quick example. Here's a search for, bad marriage, and again, look at the competing ads. They're not terrible, but what would really stand out here? And so, my colleague Perry's approach to this ad creation business, it involves kind of diagramming the different actors and objects that are kind of involved between you and the customer. And so, for example, what's your customer's best friend? What's your customer's worst enemy? What's something they love and something they hate? Then you start to brainstorm and draw diagram relationships between the different nodes on this graph and try to come up with something that would would resonate emotionally in terms of the desires or the fears that the target buyer may have. So, for example, suppose we pick your best friend. It's your children, and who's the worst enemy in this particular example? It's going to be the mistress. And so this is an example of creating an ad that kind of speaks to the different actors and their pain points and their emotions. The other woman, stepmom. How will you feel when your children call her mommy? Now, this is an example of a successful ad that can drive actually double-digit click-through rates, like Advertiser A. And here's another example of how this works. The worst enemy is the husband, and the worst enemy is the mistress. And so the ad text here, it's like, who is your husband with now? Is he sleeping with her? Get revenge and a smile on your face. Again, these are, the key takeaway here is that it's people who are doing the searches. Just like you and I, they have desires and fears like everyone else. And, try to come up with something that truly resonates with the intent of their search, kind of in a true emotional sense. And so we also talked a little bit about those USPs, like unique selling propositions, trying to figure out how to stand out from the competition. And the best tip that I have here, it's to ask your customers. Like, if you have a lead capture form on your site, don't just ask them for an email and phone number. Like, add one additional question to the form, like, what caused you to look for us today, or what would you like us to help you with today, or what's your number one question about? Try to figure out what it is exactly that they're trying to get from you, and then maybe kind of mirror that back in the ads that you're creating. And then that can help you really stand out of the crowd here, especially important for competitive ad situations. So my number 10 tip here, it's to maintain an active PPC lifestyle. So keep in mind that outsmarting your competition, it's not this kind of one-time overnight effort. It's more of a marathon, not a sprint. And the great way to win over beat the competition over the long run is kind of that tortoise strategy of kind of slow and steady wins the race, if you know what I mean. So PPC marketing, in my opinion, I've been doing it for over 10 years. I think it's an incredibly valuable medium relative to other kind of less interactive advertising formats like billboard advertising or whatever. Why? Because it's such an interactive marketing medium. You can see exactly what's working and what's not working. And so by knowing what works and what doesn't work, you can then thereby use that great information to optimize your account. Now, it turns out if you're not using this data and optimizing, then you're missing out on kind of a lot of what makes PPC so amazing compared to other advertising venues. And this may seem obvious to you, or it may seem obvious to me, but yet the interesting fact here that I'd like to share with you today is that even though this is so obvious, most advertisers are actually asleep at the switch. So again, mentioned earlier, WordStream has a lot of data, and so I did a search this morning just to figure out, how many people, like how often do people actually do optimization work in their PPC account over the last 30 days. So this is roughly, what you're looking at your screen here on this graph. It's how often do people optimize their PPC accounts in the last month. And a couple takeaways here. Let me explain the graph a little. Each dot on this page represents an advertiser. There's a couple, tens of thousands of advertisers plotted on this graph. The y-axis on the left, it shows me kind of how active is that advertiser in an account. For example, have they done any bid adjustments? Have they added or deleted keywords? Have they tried out different ads? The more stuff that you've optimized in your account, the higher the activity level. Now, the bottom, so the x-axis there has to do with the advertiser monthly spend. So like, how much are you spending per month on AdWords? Is it $500 or is it $50,000 a month? So a couple, and I've ordered it kind of like in order of increasing, ascending order of monthly spend. Now, a couple of key takeaways here. One is that you see the more that you spend on PPC, the more you're likely to be doing important PPC optimization work. So that makes sense because you have more at stake, more invested in the process. But another key stat that I want to show you here is that in terms of beating the competition, most advertisers are asleep at the switch. Half of them haven't done anything in the last month, And in fact, just doing a little more digging here, if you could do as little as 20 minutes of work per week doing just like basic PPC optimization activities, you'd actually be way ahead of like 90% of the advertisers out there. So, I think Amanda was talking a little bit about kind of maintaining a schedule for ad testing. I would just expand on that and just say like maintaining, a schedule for, doing something like some work in your PPC account, every week, and that's pretty key. It's basically the tortoise strategy of slow and steady wins the race, and that's why my company WordStream, we've invented this software called PPC Advertiser, which includes a feature called the 20-minute PPC work week. Think of like 20 minutes abs, but it's real, it works, and it's for PPC. And the way that it works is, every week we do 1,000 man-hours of analysis on the account and surface sort of the 10 most impactful things to do within a week. For example, you may want to add or delete a keyword or eliminate certain wasteful spending by adding a negative keyword, etc., or swap out an ad. The key here is just that by adopting the different tools there's like tools like this that promote the consistent PPC workflow over time. This is a huge competitive advantage, particularly given such anemic, typical account level activities out there. And I just like to also add, last year I did a big analysis of like tens of thousands of accounts to try to figure out, why were some advertisers so successful and why were some, failing so miserably. And the number one most discriminating signal that kind of correlated to success or conversely to failure had to do with the activity level in the account. Meaning, if you're going to put your account on autopilot, you're surely you're set up to fail here. Whereas if the companies that were kind of doing a bit of work in the account and optimizing and being a little more diligent, those were the strongest performers in my study. So I know this webinar was billed as 10 tips, but I could not resist. I have an 11th tip for you, a bonus tip, and this is a free one. It has to do with finding out exactly how your account compares to other competing accounts within your industry, and the idea is to grade your PPC account. And basically what this is a free tool. If I know you're on a web browser now because you're on this webinar, so just pull up a tab and go to www.wordstream.com/Google-AdWords. And what this free tool is it does a free instant PPC audit of your account in just under a minute. And what it does is it just analyzes all the different key metrics, all of the graphs and data and all that stuff that I was showing you earlier today. All that comes from it's kind of related to this. And so and basically, if you've ever done house shopping or whatever, like a lot of times you want to know, like, okay, so this house, like, how does it compare to other houses within that neighborhood, within this price range, and with similar features like 3 bedrooms or whatever. What this will do is it'll kind of give you a sense for how you're doing in different metrics like click-through rates and quality scores, etc. Relative to other similar companies within the same industry as you, as well as with similar size, like spending roughly the same amount as you in terms of your investment dollars in PPC. And like I was showing you earlier, like you'll get a detailed analysis in terms of like where the competition's at and where you're at, and kind of highlights the low-hanging fruit in terms of where the the areas that are most in need of your attention. Here's that click-through rate graph again. So anyways, we should probably wrap things up here. Amanda, do you want to talk about our summary today?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for sticking it through, everyone. So in summary, I think that we just gave you some really great tips on how to work smarter in 2013. Just make the most of your time with all the available tools and analysis that's out there. And we went over some really great ones today. Just make sure that you're always looking for opportunities and tools to write insights that your competitors might have missed. And I just wanted to take a chance to say that, Larry, I heard that you will be talking at HeroConf, and I will be also. So if you guys are looking for a really great intensive seminar to tell you guys some as many PPC tips as your brains could possibly hold, HeroConf is a really great place to do that. We'll both be talking there, so feel free to check out HeroConf.com.
There's going to be so many PPC heroes in one building. It's going to be like the Justice League of PPC or something.
We're actually going to have, we're going to have a PPC hero panel too, so it's going to be great stuff.
Awesome. All right, so we have one last poll question for our audience today. And the question is, if you're looking for help with your PPC accounts, would you like, and Laura, are you with us? Can you launch?
Hi, I'm with you. I'm with you.
The offers we have today are a free one-on-one AdWords account assessment with a certified AdWords professional. And additionally, our other offer is a free one-on-one solutions blueprint account assessment with Hennepin Marketing, but this is for accounts with over $20,000 a month in spend.
Great. So, Larry, we're going to leave those up, and I wanted to make sure we jumped into Q&A because we have some great questions. Sound good, everyone?
Awesome.
Okay,
Great.
So one really just a quick question, since we were just talking about HeroComp, there was a question about when is HeroComp happening, and maybe, Amanda, you could also share the link where people could learn more about it.
Yeah, sure. That's actually happening April 8th through 10th. And if you guys want to go to heroconf.com, that's HEROCONF.com, you can learn all about it.
Great. Okay, so let's see some of these detailed questions we have. So there was a question about actually how do you find quality score on for your competitors? So how can you find out your competitors' quality scores? Go ahead.
There's no way to technically to do that. However, if you use the AdWords grader from WordStream, what you can do is you can get a sense for what the quality scores are for other similar companies like yours. For example, if you're in, say, the insurance business, and if you're spending maybe $5,000 a month, we can provide you the quality scores of other, the average, or an indication of what the average quality scores would be for companies like that.
Okay,
but there isn't
great.
any other way.
Okay, and Amanda, there were some questions earlier on in the presentation about if you were able to share some examples of the scripts that you were talking about, AdWords scripts, and so I'll just put that out there that perhaps maybe in a follow-up blog post or maybe included with the presentation when we post this, that we can include some examples, if that's possible.
Yeah, actually, I didn't want to take up too much of your guys' time today with going into detail about them, but if you guys are PPC hero readers, there will be a couple of blog posts coming up, I think one this week and one next week. One of them should be a video blog with guided how-to, kind of going step-by-step on how to set them up. So check that out. Just be on the lookout on ppchero.com.
Great. There was a question about, we had a lot of discussion about remarketing and third-party remarketing sites, and we had an attendee who had a question if there were any remarketing, is there a way to remarket through AdWords to LinkedIn?
You know, I don't know off the top of my head if LinkedIn is opt into the Google Display Network. I want to say that it's probably not, since they have their own internal ad management, but I really am not 100% sure on that. You could look at Google's double-click display ad planner and just look up LinkedIn really quick, and it'll tell you if it's opted in. And if it's opted into the Google Display Network, then you can remarket to it. But I want to say my gut instinct is that they probably aren't. Do you know, Larry?
I think you're right.
Yeah, they have their own internal ad management system, so I don't see why they would want to compete with themselves.
Okay, great. There's a question about setting keyword bids. So, you know, when you think about manual bidding versus the conversion optimizer functionality within AdWords, could one or both of you chime in on the pros and cons of each, and is one better than the other?
Yeah, sure. So I would say if you're using the conversion optimizer function in AdWords, that's going to, if your goal is just CPA and not volume, then that could be a really great tool for you to use if you have enough conversions every month for it to really get data to run off of. I will tell you, though, that I've seen in accounts after it's been running on CPA bidding for a long time that it will start to cut your volume, because as competition rises and CPCs go up, they are naturally going to have to start choking your volume to make your CPA in line. So if you're not doing any other optimizations to make your account more profitable and bring your CPCs more in line with where they have been, then you're going to really lose the volume.
Okay. Larry, you have anything to add there?
I think there's a lot of positives about the Google Conversion Optimizer. Especially like sometimes we use it if it's just too unwieldy, like there's just too many millions of keywords to manage manually. Like you might lean on Conversion Optimizer just because it's such a hard task. Another example is where it's like not worth your while. Like if you're if it's such a small account, like maybe your time is so valuable that you need to automate it. Generally, I think you could probably do better, with a bit of effort and because you know your business better than Google. But there's definitely some scenarios where I find it's helpful.
Okay, great. I had a question about increases in quality score and really, how quickly can one expect to see increases in quality score? And in particular, this person, was wondering if they increase their click-through rate by, by 2x, how quickly could they expect to see an increase in their quality score?
I would say, within a quarter, within 90 days.
Okay, great. There's a question, and this is a little bit more on the beginner side for those involved in PPC, but a question about the difference between broad, exact, and phrase match, and is there one that you should start off with first and then move into using a different type of match type?
That's an interesting question to think about. I guess it would depend on what your KPI is, so whatever your most important metric is. If it's volume, I would say broad is definitely the best way to go. If it's a direct response campaign, so if you're looking really based on cost per conversion or return on ad spend, or you're measuring conversions, I would say that you want to be careful with broad match. So starting with exact match is always going to be the safest bet. I normally start with all of the match types at the same time, with really the focus and more budget and exact match, and then just using phrase and broad matches as sort of fuel for my SQRs to find keywords that I might have missed.
Okay. There's questions. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, we work with at WordStream. We work with a lot of kind of small and medium-sized businesses, and sometimes, like if you're only spending a couple $1,000s a month on your accounts, it might be a little overkill to go match types in triplicate and that kind of thing. A good compromise for kind of smaller, medium-sized businesses is the modified broad match keyword, because it kind of gives you a good match between kind of a good balance between volume and relevancy.
Yeah, I've actually seen modified broad perform better than phrase in most of my accounts, so I could definitely stand behind some modified broad match keywords.
Wonderful, and I actually I'm pretty sure that WordStream has an ad match type guide. Say that 5 times backwards on their website, and that we can share the link with that if you want to learn more about match types. And let's see, one last question for Larry. Does your software help with keywords, for example, long tail keywords, or finding those that work the best for your account or your campaign?
Sure. That's kind of been one of our key differentiators. We've got a strong background in terms of the keyword research abilities. We have a pretty significant database of 1 trillion search queries, and it's really hard to think of all of the different keywords that might be relevant to your business. And so one of the things that the software does is it does a lot of analysis on kind of what's working and what's not working, and kind of on the keywords that you're bidding on and the ads that you have in your account. And we try to suggest like a decent amount of keywords to try out in your account, every week. And when I say, new keywords, I'm not talking about like dumb, like, hopelessly broad keywords like insurance, like where it's like one word and the volume is you'll burn through your budget in 10 minutes or 1 minute. Like we'll give you like good suggestions of mid-tail, 3-word keywords that have a decent search volume and also a good amount of searcher intent, and those tend to be the stuff that does well, and that's pretty automated. And yes, we have that.
Okay. One last question that I'll slip in there. How do you guys feel about the new version of the product listing ads?
Well, as I said before, most of my accounts are e-commerce, and I really like the new version of product listing ads, in particular just the new features that you have with the new product listing ads. I think that it really gives you more insight into controlling them and optimizing them, and I can say that coming off of December and the big e-commerce months, we had really great months for our product listing ads, and they're still doing well.
Great.
Yeah, I think that's I can agree with that.
Wonderful. Okay. So if there were some questions that we didn't answer, we'll do our best to either on the PPC Hero blog or on the WordStream blog try to answer these questions in some sort of post. And I wanted to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon. Larry, I think there is just one more slide. If you wanted to advance there, great. So you can see that there's some contact information if you want to reach out directly to Larry or Amanda. And there are URLs here if you're interested in learning more about those special offers. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Amanda.